First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to present my work here. I am Kiran, and today I'm going to present my PhD work on computing the spatial organization and dynamics of chromatin domain. So, coming to introduction, as we all are aware, that the genetic code, the DNA sequence of ATGC, is exactly the same in all the cell types. But all different cell types like skin cell or brain cell, they behave in a very different manner. One of the reasons behind the diversity of cell functionality is how the DNA is packed and folded inside the cell nucleus. So that means the cell functionality is not only determined by the genetic code but also by the 3D organization of chromatin. If we are looking at the gene scale, it would imply that the same gene can be in inactive or active state depending upon the 3D organization. Specifically, the proximity of its enhancer and promoter will dictate if the gene could be active or inactive. So, with the advancement in recent experiment of chromosome conformation capture, we now understand the chromatin organization to a certain extent in terms of the contact probabilities. Typically, in these experiments, the chromatin segments are first cross-linked, and with the use of restriction enzyme, the DNA is being cut at various locations. These cross-linked molecules are then separated, sequenced, and mapped back to the reference genome to count the number of contact a particular DNA or two particular DNA segments are making. Here is the heat map, which is a typical representation of the result of the Hi-C experiment, where element M of this heat map represents the probability of contact between the chromatin segment X and chromatin segment Y. Now, given these experiments or given these information of contact between various chromatin segments from experiment, we want to figure out the complete 3D structure. In the sense, the 3D distances between different chromatin segments. For not only those chromatin segments for which the contact probability is given, but also for the other segments. Here, I would like to stress that the contact probability given from these experiments are very low, much less than 1. That means the DNA segments are not in contact all the times. The contact between the DNA segments are often broken and formed again. It's a dynamic process. So, in order to understand the chromatin organization in a full context, we need to understand the spatial organization of the chromatin segments, its fluctuation around its average value, as well as the dynamics of these chromatin segments. So, basically, once with the polymer expertise, and if we know the interaction strength between chromatin segments, we can do Monte Carlo simulation or Brownian dynamic simulation, which is basically a forward simulation, and can calculate the static average property such as contact probability. But in the current scenario, we have these contact probability from experiment, and to understand the chromatin organization, we need to fetch back the interaction strength between different chromatin segments. It's an inverse problem. So, in other words, we need to figure out what my aim is that known only the contact probability from experiment, we need to find the interaction strength between different segments such that the experimentally observed contact probability constraints are satisfied. To study this, we have first modeled the chromatin as a bead spring polymer, where the adjacent beads are connected by harmonic spring, and the excluded volume, which is basically the steric hindrance, as well as the cross-linking between the chromatin, which is represented by the red bonds here, are modeled by a potential, which is Sodom and Dunwich-Kramer potential. The repulsive part models the excluded volume, and the attractive part, which smoothly goes to zero, models the cross-linking. Now we have the chromatin polymer, and we need to figure out the interaction strength, which is epsilon mu nu, the well depth of this potential, which will dictate the attractive strength between chromatin segment for different bead pairs mu and nu. And as chromatin is a heterogeneous polymer, these interaction might be different depending upon the bead pair. And we need to fetch or figure out the optimal interaction strength such that the experimental contact probability can be recovered. To solve this inverse problem, we have developed an inverse Brownian dynamics algorithm, which is as follows. starting from the random interaction strength, the random values or a guess value of epsilon mu nu, because at this point we are unaware of the interaction strength in the chromatin. We'll start with the random interaction strength. We'll do a forward Brownian dynamic simulation and we'll calculate the contact probability for that chosen interaction strength. And we'll compare it with the reference contact probability, which is often taken from the experiment such as Hi-C. And depending upon the difference between the contact probability of that iteration and the contact probability from experiment, we need to we tune the interaction strength of the next iteration. It's a smart way of tuning, and we use the statistical mechanics to process and smartly tune the interaction strength, which can figure out the optimal interaction strength. It's an iterative process, and for doing it for several iterations, we fetch back the interaction strength, which can reproduce the experimental contact probability. And the details of this can be found in our publication here. We applied this inverse algorithm to alpha globin gene, which is a 500 kilobase region long in human chromosome 16, and this is the encode information. We have taken the 5C data, the contact probability from the 5C data from Bao et al. For the two cell lines, the K562, where the gene is on and the protein is made, and this is the contact probability for the on state of alpha. Similarly, we have taken for the off state from the GM12878, and this is the contact probability representing the off state of alpha globin gene in this cell line. Now we have applied the inverse Brownian dynamics to these two cell lines of alpha globin gene, and we get the interaction strength, which can reproduce the experimental contact probability. So here are the interaction strength for the on state, and here is the interaction strength for the off state. And I'm showing the typical snapshot of this gene in the on as well as in the off state. What we observe is that in the on state, the alpha globin gene exists in an open structure, while in the off state, it is more collapsed structure. This also is consistent with the notion that in the on state, the reading machinery has to come and bind the DNA and read the gene. So it needs to accommodate the reading machinery here, and it needs to be in an open state. But in the off state, where these gene reading procedures are not happening, it can be in a more collapsed state to avoid these reading machinery as well. We have characterized the shape properties of alpha globin in these two states, and which the details can be found in this paper. After looking at the structural properties, we wanted to look at the relation between the contact probability and the spatial distance, which predicted from the simulation. So if we consider an ideal chain from polymer physics, the looping probability of any segment which is s distance apart, any two chromatin region or any two beat in the polymer simulation, which is s segment apart, it will go as the segment to the power minus 3 over 2. And when we look at the average 3D distance, which is r, that will go as s to the power 1 over 2. S is the contour distance or the DNA distance between the two regions we are looking at. By these two expressions, we can say that the spatial distance will go as contact probability to the power minus 1 over 3. Now the question is that, what is this relation for a chromatin segment? So now, as we have done the inverse Brownian dynamics and we have fetched the interaction strength, we can go ahead and understand this relation for a real chromatin segment for the alpha globin gene in the on and the off state. Here in the y-axis, I'm showing the spatial distance, and the x-axis represents the contact probability. Each data point here represents a particular bead pair, and the color represents the DNA between that two DNA segments or the chromatin segments. And this is for the on state and this is for the off state. The red line here shows the fitting of the data, and the black dash line is from the scaling of the ideal chain, which I showed in the previous slide. What we observe is that the fitting of this red line is first of all different from this ideal chain scaling, and also the fitting is different different depending upon the cell type. This spatial distance goes as contact probability to the power minus 1 minus 2 over 7 in the on state, and it goes as contact probability to the power minus 1 over 4 in the off state. And not only the scalings are different, but also the spread or the variability of the data around the fitting is also different. So that signifies that the average distance between any two chromatin segment of a region, first of all, has a broad distribution and cannot be computed based on a simple relation like the inverse relation, because it's definitely depend upon the other properties such as the contour distance and the cell type. So these till here, we are looking at the average properties. Now, since we know that the chromatin in vivo inside a cell is not static and it shows a cell to cell variable, that means a particular two chromatin segment can be in proximity at one time and can be far away at a different time of point. So that indicates that the average value will not be sufficient to understand the full chromatin picture, and we need to go beyond the average and look at the full phase space which a particular segment explores. For that, I have looked at the probability distribution of the spatial distance here for three different bead pairs in my simulation, keeping the same contour distance, but choosing a different interaction strength. And here the dashed line represents the average values of these three bead pairs. What I observe is that it shows a broad peak around the average value. And not only that, we observe the emergence of a sharp peak around a short radius spatial distance. And this is the distance where the attractive force of the interaction is active. This is blown and shown in the inset. The red curve, which has the higher interactions of 2.1, shows the higher peak, where the black one, which is interacting with only 0.2 interaction strength, barely shows a peak. That indicates that it is dependent upon the interaction strength here. Now, the question is, these behavior which we are looking at, which is dependent upon the interaction strength of that particular bead pair, is it the only property of the bead pairs, or does this property get influenced by the environment or by the interaction strength of the other segments as well? In other words, how chromatin folding is affected by different epigenetic state. To understand that, we have systematically varied the interaction strength. First of all, this red plot is the same for the off state having the interaction 2.1. And the black one is the self-avoiding Vogt polymer, which has no attractive interaction, only repulsive interaction. Here there is two intermediate state where in the pink one, we have ignored the interaction strength below 1 kBt. And in the blue one, we have ignored the interaction strength below 2 kBt. So that means we are perturbing the system systematically to observe the changes due to these perturbation. What we observe is that, first of all, there is a transition in the average value of that particular bead pair, which goes from the off state to the self-avoiding off state, as well as this peak. We also observe that this interaction-driven peak, which is emerging here, also decreases. Please note that the interaction strength between all the bead pairs for all the three curves here are the same, except the black one, which is the excluded volume. But having the same interaction strength and perturbing only the interaction strength of the neighboring bead pairs or the other bead pairs in the system, the height of the interaction-driven peak is also changing. This is indicating that the measurable properties for a given bead pair depends not only on the attraction strength of the particular bead pair, but also on the interaction of the whole polymer system. So after looking at these epigenetic state, we wanted to look at or characterize the solid-like and the liquid-like nature of the chromatin domain. First of all, we have looked at the relaxation time from the end-to-end autocorrelation function, and we have extracted the longest relaxation time for all the four systems which we are looking at. We observe that for the off state, the relaxation time is much low compared to the other three states. The off state where more interaction or the higher interactions are present is helping it to relax faster. To characterize the solid-like behavior, we have looked at the stiffness of the polymer, and through its fluctuation. And if we look at this end here for the end-to-end distance, we observe is that for the off state, which is the red curve here, has the higher stiffness compared to the other three states. This can be understood from the free energy plot of the end-to-end vectors, which shows that in the off state, it is much more tilted. And for the self-avoiding work, which is the black one, the bead can explore here and have a less stiffness, which is indicated by this plot as well. To characterize the liquid-like behavior, we looked at the effective viscous drag which the chromatin domain is experiencing, which is a function of the relaxation time quantified here and the stiffness quantified here. This shows that the off state experiences more viscous drag compared to the other two states and the self-avoiding. This whole study indicates that the off state, which has the higher interactions in it, behaves like a gel. It has more solid like behavior as well as more liquid like behavior. After looking at these properties, we finally looked at several temporal events. One of the temporal event which I have looked at is the loop formation time, which is basically how much time a bead pair takes. Here, this is the 3D distance of the bead pair INJ and how much time it takes to meet for the first time. I have looked at the average loop formation time with respect to the contour distance. And I see that this is increases with the contour distance, and the speed of increasing is dependent upon the epigenetic state or the state of the polymer. Here is the scaling plotted in the inset, where for the off state, it is increasing as 1.4. And for the self-avoiding walk, it is increasing much quickly compared to the off state, and it goes as 3 or 2.3. We also we wanted to quantify the fluctuations of these temporal quantity. And to do so, we have looked at the probability distribution of this loop formation time. And here we observe that the loop formation time has a power law distribution, indicating that it has a large fluctuation. And again, emphasizing that the average property may not be sufficient to describe the full spatio-temporal configuration. And we need to understand the fluctuations as well as the dynamics of these domains. This brings to the conclusion of my presentation. Here I want to conclude that, first of all, we have developed an inverse Brownian dynamics algorithm, which can, or it's able to figure out the optimal interaction strength behind the contact probability, which we get from experiment. We have investigated the static and dynamic properties of a chromatin domain. And then we understand that 3D spatial distance is not only a function of contact probability, but it is also dependent upon the contour distance and the interaction strength. We quantified the fluctuations of the domain and we looked at several temporal quantities. And overall, it suggests that the average quantities may not be sufficient to describe the whole domain property, and indicating that we need to stress on the fluctuations and the dynamics event in the chromatin domain. I would like to thank my supervisors, Professor Ranjit and Professor Ravi, and also Professor Burkhardt for his continuous guidance, and the funding from IIT Bombay Monash Research Academy and DST and DBT India, and all the computational resources which I have got, which is NCI in Australia, Monarch from Monash University, and Space Time from IIT Bombay. And I will be very happy to take questions.
Regarding your relation between the distance and the probability with the power law, okay, I was curious because now there is more and more data, experimental data, that's where you can have access to the probability and also to the distance. So I was curious if you compare your theoretical predictions to actual experimental data.
Yes, in the sense, in these plot, if you see, I'm representing the spatial distance in terms of the computational unit and as well as in the measurable unit. To do this, we have compared our prediction of the spatial distance with the FISH data for the alpha globin gene. And then we compared it and converted into the real units. So we did use some other experiment like FISH to match our
Okay, but for the scaling laws, can you basically check the scaling laws that you are predicting, like the 1/4 or 2/7 with experimental data? Did you already?
Yes, there is a recent publication which shows that the spatial distance goes as 1/5, which is close enough, but it is for a different, if I'm not wrong, it's for a mouse embryogenic stem cell. But yes,
Okay.
that is handy.
Thank you very much for the talk. Sorry, I have a question related to the same plots that Daniel asked about. So, if I understood correctly, your best, let's say, prediction is, for instance, for the plot on the left, is with this relationship between R and P, like R to proportional to P minus 2/7, right?
Yes.
Why 2/7? I mean, it looks like a prediction from a theory. I mean, I guess you are making a fit here, right? You're doing a fit.
I'm making a fit here. The red curve here is basically the fit to the data, which
But
is
what-
indicating -2/7.
But why
Sorry, yeah, please continue.
No, I mean, why? I mean, 2/7 looks like a precise value to me, right?
Well, I'll say this is not constant, because if you look at the same gene in the off state, it goes as -1/4. So what I want to indicate here is that the scaling law changes depending upon the cell type for the same gene. So it's not a very straightforward relation, and it's not like an ideal chain relation of -1/3.
How many? So basically, you are doing. How to say? You are fitting your model to the data, no, until you find the
Yes.
best match,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
How many parameters do you have there?
I have only one parameter which I tune, which is the interaction strength, the well depth.
Only one?
The well depth of the potential, which is different for all the beat pairs.
So it's so you have
The whole set.
n, let's say, or the n.
Yes.
It's not like that you don't go in some kind of overfitting of.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
You don't go. I mean, you don't make some kind of overfitting of the data. You.
No.
Okay.
So the interactions, when we iteratively figure out for each beat pair, and that is the parameter of our simulation.
Okay.
And we try to reproduce the contact probability.
No, they understand. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
I will ask another question regarding the second part of your talk.
Yes.
In particular, the very last part where you discussed the distribution of loop formation time. Yes, this one. So so here you are studying this you only show it for T of L. What do you observe for T of C? So for the, let's say, the residence time of the loop, did you observe a particular interactions like glassy dynamics, or more like exponential distribution? So what type of distribution do you observe in this?
For the residence time here, the TC, I observe an exponential decay, indicating only one time scale for that residence time.
Okay.
And yes, and I also observe that this residence time is is dependent upon the interaction strength, and it increases exponentially with the interaction strength.
Okay, and do you also look at the distribution of these times for the on state? Because I can only see for the off and the self-eroding walk. What is the difference with the on state, which is supposedly more open?
So what we have seen is that on state is much closer to the self-avoiding walk. To do a systematic study, I looked at the self-avoiding walk and the two intermediate state. So this black data points here is the distribution of the self-avoiding walk, which is close to the open configuration of the on state. And for the loop formation time, both are showing a Pavlov behavior.